Welcome. This is the Do It All Dad Year podcast, and I am your host, Michael Kornbluth, and this is episode 13, Wishing Our Kids' Birthdays Never Blow. Every parent's biggest fear, outside of Sharia law being enforced in their neighborhood, is their kid's birthday blowing worse than the ones they've endured in heartbreaking isolation. Why don't we celebrate our dad's birthdays like it's our own? It's my dad's birthday yesterday, on April 15th on tax day. Hard to F up remembering that one. But like I was saying, why don't we celebrate our dad's birthdays like it's our own? It's where your seed of life stems from. Plus, if you celebrate your dad's birthday like it's your own birthday, your dad doesn't possess as much power to make you feel like a regrettable mistake on yours. How convenient. So this is a father-son talk that I had with my 4-year-old son today while he was watching the Batman Lego movie again, which makes you feel special because that was the first movie we saw together, and I would like to think he'll always equate that movie with us having that bonding moment that he still recalls. So he's looking more gorgeous than ever, and this is my advice for him. I said, Art Show. That's my nickname for him. Before he was born, actually, I had this idea. I'm quoting verbatim. I said to my wife, at this point, we just had Matilda, who's my firstborn, and I said to my wife, I said, babe, I got the perfect nickname for Arthur, okay? He wasn't even born yet, still in the womb. I said, we're going to call him the Art Show. And then my daughter interrupts, got completely pissed off, and could already sense his mojo rising and said, no, it's my show! Which absolutely kills me to this day. And my son's name is Arthur Morrison Kornbluth. Headline hookers are definitely one of my fortes. Getting his social security card in the mail was definitely a momentous heavy metal high moment to remember. That's for damn sure. People ask me, so why did you name your son Arthur Morrison Kornbluth? And my answer is, I considered substituting Brooks for a middle name in honor of Albert Brooks and Mel Brooks, two major comedy heroes of mine. But then I changed my mind at the last minute and decided to go with Morrison because, with Brooks, it rubbed me the wrong way in the sense that I don't want to give my son the permission to be a Jewish pussy, which my father already allowed with me to a large degree, and I can't launch a Do It All Dad Year podcast and market it as dad-friendly entertainment for you and me and talk about how awesome, modern, involved dads are like myself when I haven't really evolved the family, father, mold, up a notch, and I haven't improved the Kornbluth male dad parenting just a tad. So I thought that going with Morrison for the middle name was an auspicious good start. And so far he's definitely living up to the rock star frontman name without a doubt. In fact, my son already came up with a nickname for me. I'm very big on nicknames. I've mentioned before in the podcast. He goes, Eddie, I got a nickname for you. It's called I'm Calling You Always Loud, which is really funny, coming from a 4-year-old. And it's really funny because it actually reminds me of my old Indian nickname from the reservation, Trips on Curbs. So I want to congratulate Bon Jovi for being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Definitely overdue. I feel a special connection to Bon Jovi because when I got my TV writing break that was 12 years in the making for VH1 Classic, I was hired to write all of these music video intros for a heavy metal themed music video countdown called America's Hot 100. It was hosted by Chris Jericho, the famous wrestler. He's also the frontman in a heavy metal band called Fozzy. They got their start. And the number one video that was voted number one for America's Hot 100, voted on by 1.2 million fans, was Living on a Prayer. I actually played that song today for my son on our way to Trader Joe's. He goes, Daddy, can you play that again? I said, no problem, you got good taste. For the record, Kid Rock says that's a perfect song. And I love to quote Kid Rock whenever I can. Just in spite of my wife, who likes to quote South Park and thinks that, they're the ultimate barometers of what's smart and what's cool and what's artistically momentous in our society that you should give two shits about. Apparently, they had an episode where they portray him as like a complete moron, which I really disagree with. And I love his relationship with Hank Williams Jr., okay? If a country boy can't survive! I love Hank Williams Jr. so much. I'm a native, proud New Yorker, and his disdainful treatment of New York City in songs such as Country Boy Can't Survive and If Heaven's a Lot Like Dixie. If Heaven's a Lot Like Dixie! Obviously, I wasn't blessed with a tremendous voice, but I love Hank Williams Jr.'s strong personality, his incredibly sarcastic sense of self that just rocks. And to the point where I don't even mind him completely like dumping on my city. Of course, I'm talking about Manhattan, my city, which I love so much. That's Walt Whitman's expression, by the way, my city. I try to drop it whenever I can, but I always like to give props and homage to whomever I'm quoting. So because of Hank Williams Jr., I am right now pursuing talk show radio opportunities down in Nashville. Then again, I've also got a nice demo reel already put together called Barnstorming Barbershop USA, where I barnstorm a bunch of barbershops within all the states that voted for Trump in America. And I make fun of, Hillary Hammer Time Cankles and everyone else that deserves majorly bashing. I love when my wife says that I can't make fun of Chelsea Clinton. She always says, it's sexist for me to make fun of Chelsea Clinton. But that's an unfair accusation to call me sexist, for making fun of Chelsea Clinton. She's not even ugly anymore. Plus, for the record, I think Alyssa Milano is a divisive, twat on Twitter, too. Glad I got that out of my system. But back to Bon Jovi. I got sidetracked. So, I loved writing this intro for Living on a Prayer. Because all the other intros I was hired to write, weren't nearly as meaty. I didn't have as much time to really, wax poetic. And Chris Jericho got very fired up. He, threw his coat off in the process. And, which was, totally, not choreographed. And that made me really happy. It was, again, another great heavy metal high in my lifetime, for sure. But, Bon Jovi, they're finally in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Congratulations. Long overdue. If you could believe it, Def Leppard's still not in. And it took Journey forever. So basically, if you're commercially successful, and if your music is incredibly hooky, and has roaring, soaring guitars, and if women completely, faint within your presence, and you're not excessively nerdy like Rush, then you basically get screwed over by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame forever. I kiss to that Knicks too, and they finally got inclusion, thank God. But Bon Jovi, Guns N' Roses, Cinderella, Poison, New Age Alice Cooper, along with revitalized Whitesnake, and a new Van Halen with Sammy Hagar back in the day, a reinvigorated commercial-friendly Ozzy, with after that release of Tribute to Randy Rhoads. Wow. Those are the days, right? Those were definitely the days back in the 90s, early 90s, pre-9/11, before magic made HIV disappear. So I took my daughter a year ago to see Bon Jovi at Mohegan Sun. And it was a great concert. They really rocked. And it was all because I heard Bon Jovi on Howard Stern. I got this promo satellite thing on satellite. And they sounded like a well-oiled machine. Very similar to the E Street Band. Bands that are totally must-sees in your lifetime. They have a new guitar player. I don't know what his name is, who plays with Decembora, but he's fantastic. But they were awesome. And my daughter, already being familiar with the library of Bon Jovi, halfway into the concert, she goes, "Daddy, why don't I know these Bon Jovi songs?" And I said, because it's John Bon Jovi's life. More importantly, John Bon Jovi can get away with it because bad medicine is all I need, whoa. But yes, God bless Bon Jovi, New Jersey's finest, the long-haired Cowboys from Jersey, for finally getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Howard Stern, the king of all media, introduced Bon Jovi into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is great. But how hilarious can Howard be as a bazillionaire banging Beth these days? That's my only way that I could feel, semi-superior to Howard for more than 2 seconds. But I'll take it. I actually competed for a writing job with Howard Stern's show. Very proud to admit that. Although I remember not getting it and then getting this one response from this one guy that I had met that I almost placed for like 60 grand when I was doing staffing for Robert Half. And he basically said, well, what do you expect? It was a long shot, and nothing drives a comedian or a writer more than too ambitious or long shot. I remember doing an open mic that night and completely killing. Don't let any sort of, discouragement. You're always going to have dream detractors, people. But just use that as fuel for your creative fire. Think big, like the Big Don says. So, last night, talking about music here. So, for a preliminary birthday gift, I turned 42. I don't believe I'm saying that. 42 in a day, April 18th. So a couple of days. And I got this new speaker because my Bose speaker actually broke, my portable Bose. So now I have this new speaker. It's this Harman Kardon speaker. It's phenomenal. And what's great about it is that it's voice activated and it's powered through that virtual assistant Cortana. So last night, I'm having a field day with it. And my wife asked, so do you love Cortana for playing anything from Spotify you want? And I'm thinking, don't make me choose, bitch. So Trump says he never changed a diaper. Who cares? I wish I could make that claim. It would mean I had my shit together for a change. Instead of being a stay-at-home dad who's been fired more than a Palestinian slingshot. Boy, is my wife tired of that line. Not to really storytell right now. Something I learned in headhunting. Sometimes I learned the importance of, or the difference between answering a yes or no question versus storytelling. Josh, no storytelling, yes or no question. Do you have your lease ready for tomorrow? Yes or no? Josh, have you negotiated fees? Yes or no? Josh, do you really enjoy getting hung up on as often as you do? Yes or no? Have you not jumped out of our window yet on top of Wilshire Boulevard? Now that's an open-ended question. Go. So, it shouldn't drive me nuts, but I just mentioned my age, 41, about to turn 42. It shouldn't drive me nuts. It should not drive me nuts. But I hate buying beer and getting asked for ID in front of my 3 kids at Target. It makes me feel like a teen mom dropout from Gainesville, Florida. Crystal meth homemaker is my headline description on LinkedIn all of a sudden. I love laughing at my own material. Why should Eddie have all the fun? By the way, Coming to America, still a perfect movie. My children love it. It's rated R, but there really aren't that many F-bombs. And it's definitely worth revisiting. So, I'm a diehard Knicks fan. It's very depressing to watch these playoffs right now and to watch all these other teams with young talent on the rise. However, I read on my Twitter feed yesterday that the Knicks are interviewing or offering interview invites to a bunch of coaches, and one of those coaches being the legendary, ultra hilarious Jeff Van Gundy. This is my impersonation of James Dolan having a long overdue conversation with the great Jeff Van Gundy. This is James Dolan. Come back home, Jeff. And this is Van Gundy. But I still look like a nerd and never grew into cocksure middle-aged handsomeness like short shorts Hornacek. So, I'm a native New Yorker, I mentioned that. I grew up in Queens, Forest Hills to be exact, and my parents moved to Westchester. So I just wanted to mention Mayor de Blasio for a second. Remember when Mayor de Blasio invited Colin Kaepernick to speak with prison inmates at Rikers? So his biracial son Dante got social justice warrior cred at Yale for Christmas. This is my impersonation. James Comey had that interview last night. That's what you want to call it. And so I just have a couple of things to share about James Comey, that despicable human being. Hope he spends his entire life in prison. So this is my impersonation of a funny James Comey. Not to be so depressing over here. A little levity to a world that's on fire right now. Here we go. My impersonation of a funny James Comey. Hillary, claiming 30,000 deleted emails were yoga related, is a major stretch. I forgot. Other emails detailed funeral arrangements for Chelsea's fiance in case he increased his marrying price at the last second. Trump is morally unfit to be president. Too bad discarded Obama leftovers are the ones guilty of widespread drug proliferation through giving Hezbollah a pass, gifting nuke money to Iran, gun running to Mexico, uranium sales to Russia, icing Seth Rich, etc. Trump is unfit to be president. Why? Because he can't fit into a 34 waist and drinks Diet Cokes instead of almond smoothies? Like he Obama? Your ideas of what represent real leadership in the age of 24/7 unhinged barbaric terror isn't too superficial. Trump is unfit to be president. Good luck convincing ISIS, China, North Korea, MS-13, monster pedophiles, the Dow Jones, Israel, Roseanne, and 64 million other branded racists. You soulless, unoriginal moron. Doesn't feel good to be called a moron from the other side, does it? So it was my dad's birthday yesterday. It's my birthday joke for dad. I, of course, don't send him material because we don't have that sort of relationship. Here we go. My dad says to me, son, until you get a job which pays you something, you have no leverage over your wife with 3 kids to feed. And I say, of course I do. I just tell my wife if she divorces me, it will fuck up the kids for life because I'm so lovable for now. My husband is the least sexy admission in the history of mankind. Next to, I only watch the Super Bowl for the commercials. Tarantino, playing a sadistic creep in Dusk Till Dawn, never felt like a radical departure from reality, did it? So news of him choking his muse, Uma Thurman, with the chain on the set of Kill Bill confirms the fact that his acting ability was always Uma thin. Can Ashley Judd stop acting like a real victim of rape? Ooh, she declined to watch Harvey Hairclumps Weinstein shower himself down in his 5-star suite at the Four Seasons. And now, she no longer has scripts from Miramax to snuggle up with late at night. Next to her chunky monkey. I hate business roundup articles of companies who let you work remote because they remind me of my wife, who let me play stay-at-home dad until the role playing got too rough because I'm strangling her financially. I love my newborn son, Samuel, because he adopted my same aggravated sensibilities, like him getting restless and bitchy whenever he's forced to spend too much time with mama again. I'm still bracing for the text from my mom in Scottsdale, Arizona today. How you handling the flash floods back east, Scoops? Why don't I text you in August, Mom, so I can ask, how are you dealing melting to death in Arizona, Ma? So going to a wedding later this summer for my wife's best friend. She's been a great friend. She's been real sweet to my kids. I have a lot of affection for her. So I understand my wife getting excited about getting a really cute getting a very cute outfit. This is what I get. I start stumbling when I force myself to be excessively nice. This is my punishment, Lord. Unbelievable. So my wife got this outfit for the kids. She didn't clear it with me ahead of time. So moments earlier, my wife says, I love the matching kid bow ties. I've got 2 sons and a daughter. My wife says, I love the matching kid bow ties and pink shorts for Liz's wedding. What do you think? And in my mind, all I'm thinking is, too force-fagel a hipster for my taste? and I own a Brooks Brothers pink tie already. Just to clear the air. I hate for my growing, adoring audience. I think I'm overtly homophobic. Lived in West Hollywood for 6 years. It's just a well-constructed joke, and sometimes the injection of Fagel just works. Just watch any Adam Sandler or Mel Brooks film and tell me different. It's also like my Jewish birthright, too. When you have a father that's a Jewish New Yorker who grew up in the Bronx. So this is my wife last night. You've made, it was one of our legendary fights, you've made 1,000 promises to me by now. And I say, I'm more committed than ever to make a name for myself. Yet you relegate my podcast 12 episodes in to mere rantings of a madman? Good to know your belief in me tripling down on me 3 kids later is as solid as ever. So let's get back to Cortana. Again, you know, my wife. I just so these are other idealized responses to my wife saying, "Do you love Cortana?" That I obviously didn't think about at the time. Wife asked, "Do you love Cortana?" More than my own voice? Yes, and I'd have no problem adding Cortana into the snuggly mix. But tell her to stop playing Elvis again, and we're sleeping on the couch together. And we were sleeping on the couch together. Do you love Cortana, babe? I'm sigh-free around her, which is more than I can say for others. Trump isn't presidential. I'm so sick of hearing this. Trump isn't presidential. I'll take unapologetic transparency with his fellow loving Americans over dated, unrealistic ideals of what so-called presidential behavior is in the wake of the shit show Sheehy Obama left in his wake. End of story. Oh! Chicago's greatest hits loses its sway on Your Heart at 41, 3 kids later. Every song is about being miserable without her. How can I go on? How can I go on? Charming new puss to fall into, for starters. Beyoncé doesn't want fans to post unflattering pics of her from Coachella online. But Jay-Z, the Jigga Man, needs a new reason to write his next cheating song in her honor. Close friends of CNN President Jeff Zucker blame his divorce on his addiction to work. I thought it was because Trump's truth bombs reduced his fake news network to radioactive rubble. My book idea for Lena Dunham, because I'm a real giver. By Curious George, a teen graphic novel series for sexually confused hipster spawn reared on Lou Reed Records. Biden might run in 2020. Who cares? He'll get creamed if he did. Too bad the writing in the New Yorker is far less grabby. Jemele Hill cleared the air. She doesn't think all President Trump supporters are white supremacists. Just the ones who'd rather do whoopee with Ted Danson and blackface over you-know-who. Giving Obama credit for Dow Jones highs, it's like giving Nino Brown cred for getting Pookie off crack and welfare. This news is somewhat dated, but Colin Kaepernick, some people don't read magazines, so maybe they weren't aware of it, but Colin Kaepernick was voted GQ Man of the Year in 2017. Yeah, he didn't dress for it either. Posing with Linda Sarsour is a bad look for Colin Kaepernick. Yes, she's the face of moderate Islam at the Pussy Hat marches on Washington, but she also promotes genital mutilation. You might as well be wearing a mutilated clit on your fro, bro. Colin Kaepernick, Cheech and Chong's Gia-Pat love child, has a fake news fro. I've never seen a biracial afro that big before, have you? Slash from Guns N' Roses, his attempt at it was a total flop. So again, this episode 13, episode where I become a man among men on the podcast circuit, wishing our kids' birthdays never blow, was definitely inspired by a conversation that I had with my mother and my dad, who called me 6 days before my birthday because they're going to Israel, London before that. Obviously, they spend any time on Twitter or read any of my stuff. They'd probably think twice about going to London these days, but that's besides the point. I'm not expecting them to do that. They have their own life. They've earned their freedom in Arizona. I'll grant them that much. So they're going to Israel, and I'm very happy for my dad. He's very religious. His father was president of a synagogue. So they're going to Israel. However, what was super weird about this conversation was that my mom was taking the lead in this conversation, and she went out of her way to say that she was calling to wish me a happy birthday now because they wouldn't be able to call me on my actual birthday in Israel. So at the time, I said, well, Dad, you know what? I think God will grant you with more years of prosperity and good health if you find the time to call your son on his actual birthday. But these are some other made-up responses because I thought it was like such a funny scenario. I mean, obviously, no one wants to feel like you're receiving second-class, Palestinian treatment from your own flesh and blood, especially on your birthday. Well, we're talking 6 days before your birthday, especially when you produce 3 beautiful, healthy, wonderful grandchildren. And my wife is a good person, and she's played her own lovely role in raising these amazing children as well. So here are some other scenarios that could have transpired when my mom called to say, we'll be in Israel on your birthday. So we're calling to wish you happy birthday now because of the time difference. Then I say, I'd pray at the Western Wall for stronger time management skills then. Mom calls, we'll be in Israel on your birthday. So we're calling to wish you happy birthday now. Wow, I better get my premature jubilation under control then. I'd hate to blow all my endorphins 4 days before my actual birthday, Ma. Mom calls, we'll be in Israel on your birthday. So we're calling to wish you happy birthday now. Well, Mom, at least you're not making me feel like a total loser again for expressing your concern over any of my friends showing up to my bar mitzvah party to celebrate me. That's a true story. It was a big turnout. Mom calls, we'll be in Israel on your birthday. So we're calling to wish you a happy birthday now. Because we only make your younger brother feel like the center of our universe. He wouldn't dare abandon me the way you have, since I told you to dig ditches for a living. Mom calls, we'll be in Israel on your birthday, so we're calling to wish you a happy birthday now. Because our heart isn't in it more than usual. So my main message here, folks, is for my children. And it's a promise. And my promise is I will always do everything in my power to make sure that your birthdays are never worse and sucky compared to the ones I've had to endure. Now that I have you 3 in my life, I have no reason to complain about any birthday at all whatsoever. And you have my promise and my word that I will make sure every birthday is felt from your end as a big deal birthday. Because you're all super big deals. And you make your daddy a better human being. And what I love about you is that, when daddy's been off the social grid of life here, where a lot of friends have disappeared, haven't even visited me. I've been in this home for like 2 years. Some friends, I don't know if you want to call them friends or not, but haven't even seen my firstborn yet. It happens. I carry no ill will, but this is my point. My point is, I fight to my wife last night, thinking this podcast is just a showpiece to rant, to complain about feeling emotionally abandoned from my parents. Then again, most comedians do suffer from some level of emotional abandonment from some inner circle. That's why they do seek love from strangers for a living. But I launched this podcast, for more reasons than just ego enlargement. I launched it so I could record, some of these beautiful moments that I've been able to share on the home front, knowing that it's not going to be permanent, knowing that I wanted my kids to know that I did everything in my power to become a better writer, a better comedian, and a better human being, and a father that they could be really proud of. And we're not your typical family. And they say isolation is the gift. Charles Bukowski always talked about that. And Ibsen, famous Norwegian playwright, always says that like the people that are most lonely are the strongest. And I definitely feel more indestructible than ever. And again, I can't really say that I'm lonely because I got my 3 kids. I have my wife. I have my Twitter peeps that I am eternally grateful for, that are these unbelievable comedy buds that I never had before. And I want to thank you for everyone on Twitter for keeping my comedic spirits afloat, for really filling in for like that open mic that I just don't have the time to pursue since I became a father of 3. Not all these kids were planned. Wife hates for me to admit that, but it is what it is. I want my kids to know I've made the most of the situation, and that what I truly appreciate above all else is when mommy, when my own parents, when in-laws, when all these friends have not said, you could do this, you could do that. Your belief in Daddy has been unyielding, and I will always be grateful for it. I'll always cherish it. Then again, you're around Daddy all the time, and you see him consistently kill, and you see firsthand Daddy's ability to unite, connect, entertain, and I can't wait to bring home the bacon. Nashville, here we come. Just so you know, I already had the conversation with my kids this morning about Daddy applying for talk radio jobs outside of New York, preferably down south, down in Nashville. I'm feeling the Southern love. I want to party with Hank Williams Jr. and celebrate that family tradition. After, I have some real reason to celebrate. And what's going to be that reason? That reason is going to be me truly finding my voice down there, me being celebrated for who I am, me being celebrated for my personality, having something to say, and for me not succumbing to this complete, frenetic bitch fest that our country's had to endure since Donald J. Trump became President of the United States. So, Godspeed to our president. I think America has a lot to look forward to right now, particularly African Americans. And I'm just going to throw this out right now. I think that Democrats doubling down on charges of racism against our president, and for them doubling down on pushing for more massive illegal immigration, will be the ruin. Not that Democracy I grew up with whatsoever. And I'm just happy and proud that we have a native New Yorker who's a fighter, who truly is making our country great again. And I hope, and he's definitely inspired me to throw my balls on the line and not to put any censors on myself in terms of how I express myself, whether it be on social media, on this podcast, or off, and just be true to my instincts and who I want to become. And who do I want to become? I want to be a leader that my children can look up to, and I want my kids to say, Daddy did it his way, and I love him for it, and Dad's a funny, sweet guy, and I just want more people to appreciate us and all the great work he's done with us. Because, Daddy, you're going to write that book called Controlling Kids with Comedy. Kidding is a serious business. You got titles up the wazoo, so you need a platform already. Because, Daddy, it's time to get off welfare already. And what I mean by that is me being dependent on my wife for financial assistance, because I am choking her financially. Not that I'm this sort of diva over here, but the reason why 75% of stay-at-home dads want out is because they're perpetually forced to feel like less of a man. And you could talk about equal rights all you want, but most women, well, you could be for equal rights and equal pay. Inside of you, there's a fake feminist that is still traditional and is still really not completely cool with the woman being the traditional breadwinner. And to be honest with you, neither am I. So I can't wait to make that jump into the driver's seat and be that rainmaker provider for my children that my father was for me. So I'm going to wish my father a belated happy birthday. He was in Israel yesterday, so I was able to do that. I sent him a text. But I do plan on getting close to you, big guy. And I get my sense of funny from you. You were editor of your school newspaper in the Bronx, so I definitely get not only my gift of gab, but my writing skills from you. Not mom, no offense. And I know you believe in me, and I know you just want me to work and bring home the bacon. And I plan on doing that again. Because whenever we've had these issues, it only stems from the fact that I've been out of work and I've been making money. So I plan on changing that, I promise. I love you. And Do It All Dad, your podcast, Dad Friendly Entertainment for you and me. Talk to you guys soon.